Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. We have a little bit of an interlude here. Not really an interlude, but so we got things all moved around. We're actually working on that truck more so. And then I think I have all this Ford Racing Performance Dynamic Coney shocks and such all sold. So I'm gonna pop them off and switch over to coilovers. And I bought some MAXPEEDINGRODS. I can't remember what it is, but it's like their higher end. We're gonna give those a shot, but we need to get more low in the back. It was sitting about 2 3/8 from here to the tire, and we're looking at trying to cut some of that so we can get a little bit lower. I'm guessing if you're already on my channel, you know how to take off a strut, but pretty simple. Get these bolts loose down here, which are, they have a little bit of camber adjustment in them. These don't have camber plates. And then we have a little our sway bar mount. Once that's loose, you can see it's got the Ford Performance sway bar and all that stuff. Then we just got to get these top ones out, and these are the Coney adjustables. You take the little cap out and you put your little Allen in there and adjust the valving to that. So we just got to get this off, and then we can pop this whole thing out because it's already loose, and then we'll jump on the back. Simple. All right, so these are the T7 coilovers from MAXPEEDINGRODS, and honestly, out of the box, quality looks really nice. I didn't notice any flaws. They have caster camber plates on them, and just going through the instructions, it already seems like it has preload set. There's no spring. I can't get the spring to rotate, which means there's some tension on it. And then I'm not sure how low we can go with them, but we're gonna push it and see where we sit compared to everything to the ground. But this is a good ways up right now, so we'll get our preload set and then set a ride height just off a guess and see where we sit. Well, like any man, I didn't read the instructions before I started fucking with it. It said that they preload them from the factory at 7mm, so we're just gonna run that. It might not be what we want, but we'll see what it does performance wise. It does seem about right, so we'll see. We'll set the jam nut and set ride height all the way down just to see where we're gonna sit. Not sure if this is how it's supposed to be normally, but so we're on the back, and this bolt goes inward, and the the sway bar is in the way to pull the bolt out. It's really hard to see, but basically, simple task. You just unbolt the shock. The top bolt's right there. Once the shocks are out, the sway bar's off, which we had to take off to get the bolt out anyway. The axle should swing down and we'll be able to get the spring out. Alright, so we got this front pinned on right. I don't have the bolts tightened up yet, so we don't have any camber adjustment, and it's also set at 0 in here. This is bottomed out, so unless we were to add more preload, we cannot go any higher. The preload should be good. We set it to factory spec the way they intended. So now in the back, I already got this all out. Unbolting a shock is pretty simple. You basically, you got your bolt out, your sway bar loose, your upper mount loose, and now we're going to put in the coils, and we don't really know which ones to run yet, because there's so many different options that they come with to run it. I'll show you. So you have these options to run height-wise, and so you can run without the adjuster, with just the base, with the base and think it's just ran all the way down and then adjusted up. And I'll show you those parts. So here's just the spring. Pretty simple. And interested why it wasn't like a progressive rate coil, but and then these are all the parts to make that happen. And then here's the adjustable height shock body. You can see the jam nut and such. What I'm worried about, for starters, is just seeing, probably take just this rubber bit off the top here. Get it off. Just this guy, and pop it in there, and we'll try that out seated in the on both sides. And basically all we have to do is get it back down on the jack stands and lower it. And we're gonna have to do something with the front too, so we can see really, we'll tighten up those caster camber the camber adjustments on the front. We'll get those tightened up, and then once those are tightened, then like it'll take the flop out of the knuckle, and we'll be able to see where we're sitting. But you know, this is supposed to be like a 3-inch drop total. Whatever the front's doing is whatever we're gonna do in the rear. So realistically, that's most important. The rear is quite a bit down from the front at this moment, so we'll grab the other bushing, get it on the other coil, and put it in. We get jack stands back there, and if we get to this point compressed, then we know that, or if we go past it, then we know we're kind of in the ballpark, because the front doesn't have any weight on it yet. I'm guessing more than likely we're going to end up on the adjustable base for these springs, but I figured we'll start the deepest possible and then work our way back. One thing to keep in mind while you're doing this, if you're like me and you're doing it on a lift, is these axles do have a panhard bar. So as they compress, as it compresses, it's going to swing a little bit, but get these lined up and just kind of keep an eye on it as we go in. All right, so the first setup will not work. We're on the bump stops, and you know, it looks pretty hella slammed, just judging by the height, which is not a bad problem, but I don't know how that compares to with a wheel on it, but there is not weight on the spring at all right now. So before I put this in here, I just wanted to show you. You can see this little recessed part that kind of sits on this opening here, and then the distance from here to the top of, from here to the top here, right here, is about 1 inch. And honestly, I think that'll be pretty close. So we're gonna give that a shot and see where it sits. So we got it sitting on there. We just add the coil on top, and there up top there's a there's like a guide rubber, and that's where our other rubber bushing set. So I know these max speeding rods do have a mediocre reputation due to ride quality and such. These are their high-end ones, and I'm curious to try them out. Also, who knows if a lot of these people that are making these complaints are setting their coilovers up correctly as far as preload and such. So we will see. You know, maybe if they're trying to get max low, they're adding more preload to, which is counterintuitive, but they're adding more preload to also get that spring lower up in the front. Not really the case in the back. These are just probably too heavy of a spring if that is the case. But you also got to keep in mind that we're going for more performance than we are ride quality, as far as like Cadillac versus freaking F1 car. So obviously an F1 car isn't going to handle the same way as a Cadillac, but likewise to the same thing, a Cadillac isn't going to handle like an F1 car because its suspension is generally going to be softer and such. We're going to do the same thing we did the other side real quick. Let's see if I can set you somewhere. Probably a little high, but we'll see what happens. And that's what I was talking about with that pushing over a little bit, but we're safe. So we have just a smidge of pressure. Oh, we gotta take a little, probably go up just a smidge and reset that, but basically we have it all the way down, and you can see that the rear end was unloading off the hoist. That means that we have all the weight of the rear of the car on it. One thing that's kind of a disadvantage to my situation is the car is completely torn apart. So weight wise, once this is all together, it is going to weigh more. We don't have glass, you know, there's no seats, no dash, no fuel. Well, there might be fuel in it. So, but you'll notice we're off the bump stops now. So that means it is taking the load. And I'd be curious to know, another problem we have is we don't have the front fenders mounted. We don't really know how it sits in relation to the fender well, but we can measure based off of our rocker. Our rocker was flat and level when we put this car body on. So granted, the front isn't preloaded or isn't loaded with weight yet, but I can kind of get a measurement. If we're past, we're probably sitting in the right ballpark. If we're shallow, then we need to figure out how to get in between that and no adjuster. But I'm guessing the adjuster needs to be there. And it does say max low in the adjustment of 3 inches. So I'm gonna take some measurements and I will report back. Okay, so I took some measurements. The rear end's a little bit lower than the, like up tucked a little harder than the front. But it's okay because the front's not loaded, and I'm not really sure it's going to come up much, but they're pretty close to each other. And the purpose of this is we need to figure out how much we're going to be trimming up here for our flare and our ride height in general. So we don't want to weld flares on that aren't going to be hideous. We could cheat them down a little and then adjust the ride height accordingly. I do want to be low because there's a lot of this going on that needs to get taken care of it too. And I really want to build a body low car more than I have to already, as far as ground effects on the front and such. So this thing on the ground, the bumper will look really tall if we don't get it lower to the ground. So plus side is also, if the front sinks down a little bit, it almost kind of has the attribute that the car kind of sits rear squatted, but it really doesn't. So if we can maybe take that visual away, that and get it a little more even, just because it's just the way the body lines are, it kind of looks that way. So we are probably just gonna leave this how it is, maybe get the shocks in place accordingly, and kind of just button everything up loose, and put some weight on the front and see what the front does too. So I have my measurement back here before at loaded. So I just need to take the measurement. I'm gonna take a measurement from here up to here and just get a you know, an idea of how much the preload is. And this should be pretty accurate up front due to the engine weight. On the back, in the end, we might cut down this bump stop a little bit just to accommodate for it being that much lower, because that was in stock form. We can also get a kind of a good idea of what the rear is. There's no way we're bolting a tire on right now, just because of it's not going to fit because it's not cut yet. But we can measure a wheel from center and get an idea how much it sticks up. Obviously, we also have to accommodate for hitting bumps. We need a little bit of travel room. Good thing is the flares sit a lot lower on the outside lip, so we can build a wheel tub that sits a lot higher, and that won't affect the way the car performs as long as the tire isn't rubbing through the arch of the flare. So let's take a quick measurement here of the two center. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it looks about 13.5, so we're running about a 27-inch tire setup ish. So take that same measurement, 13.5, and that's the center. So it's actually really close. We barely have to cut any out of here to be at max static, just sitting here without any compression or anything. So in the end, I'll probably end up cutting this body line out, and then I'll put my wheel tub up a little bit higher. We got to see, you can kind of see over there where it comes through. We don't need to be that tall, but that may make it easier to lay the tubs in, because the way they're gonna basically mount to this point here all the way over. So we'll see. Unfortunately, we have to make the cut before we really do anything further back here as far as wheel tubs. So moving along to the front, let's take that measurement like I talked about. It looks like we're sitting at 14.5 to the body seam. And we're just gonna do it on this side, because the other side actually doesn't have the seam on it anymore, because I cut it off for my fender. That's getting all plated shut, or I might build tube stuff in place. Haven't decided how serious we're gonna get with this yet, but I think the tube might be the option, just because of strength, and I don't like the way it looks just capped off. Not that we'd be running around without fenders, but I know it's there and it bothers me. All right, we got the suspension unloaded off I got the cars off the hoist on the front, so all the front half of the weight is on the coilover. And I lost my tape measure. I gotta go find the tape measure. Okay. So our last measurement was 14.5. So how much did we lose? So we literally just went down a half an inch. And you know, I think that's where we're gonna send it. Because like I said, the front kind of sits raked up a little bit. So all said and done, we might have that look that we're going for. Just a little bit of level in the body out, because like all that body, like even that body line for the tail section or the quarter, like right here, it all slopes down. So it really gives the car a, well, they call it a fastback, obviously for a reason, but it gives it that sleek look on the back, but the front's kind of popped up. So I don't want to rake it too much. It's not really my style, but I think we're onto something here. So that was basically it We'll gotta put our shocks in yet, and basically gonna adjust accordingly on these. We'll figure out our max droop before the springs unload, and then put the shock in at that point probably, and see where we're sitting. Because obviously with this in there, and you hit a bump or something, you don't have this set at max droop before the spring unloads, you'll actually lose your coils like all those Jeep guys on the trails, which is hilarious until you have to help them 15 times. So that's what we're gonna do with those. I'm not gonna show you how to put them in. You all know how to bolt in a shock, and they're adjustable. You just spin this body up and down, and that's where you get your height from. So thanks for hanging out while I take that stock Ford Racing Performance Takiko dynamic suspension off and switch over to this MAXPEEDINGRODS T7 coilover setup. Thanks for watching, and you guys rock. Thanks for I know I've already said thanks a million times, but it's cool to see people coming in here and watching stuff. Keeps me motivated, keeps me wanting to do more projects, and that means a lot. So thank you guys, and catch the next one.